How's it going, everyone? Hope you had a great holiday and a great New Year's. Welcome to the first video of my weekly trading review. This series is replacing my daily series, where instead of giving a pick every day and evaluating that pick on the next day and giving my market opinion, this series is going to be focused on all the picks I took in the week, why I took them, what I liked, what I didn't like, and where I could improve. I think it's going to make me more accountable. Hopefully, it will also help anyone who found those daily videos very useful. If you didn't see my my 2024 YouTube picks recap, I mentioned that I'm going to be switching the format of my videos into this series. I'm also going to be having 4 quote-unquote earnings calls, for lack of a better word, where I'm going to be reviewing how my account's doing. The goal for me this year is to have a $30,000 account and double it by the end of the year. So I'm going to have these quarterly earnings check-ins to see how am I doing, how's the account doing, what's working well, where am I bleeding money, maybe where should I focus my efforts on, and so on. So those quarterly earnings will be a little bit more business-like, but these weekly videos are going to be still more technically focused. I think the goal, and to be a successful trader, you got to focus technically when you need to, and then you occasionally take the step back into the business realm to make sure you're managing, your profits and looking to improve where you can. So with that intro out of the way, let's look at just what happened in the market this week. So I think it's going to be helpful to have a market recap. And before we kind of go into what picks I took this week. So this week in the market, 4-day week, and you can see pretty bearish week. We started, if I go to the weekly chart here, we started at 600 and we ended at about 580. So shortened week over here. Also a lot of economic news. We had the ISM services. We got some unemployment numbers. We had ADP. We had the inauguration as well. So a lot of stuff going on. So bearish week, and that's kind of the theme on the daily chart over here. Here's the price action for the week. You can see we got some steady selling early on Monday. We had some follow through, a bit of a pause as we wait for the holidays and the job events, and then we got the reaction to the 100 SMA where we broke through some support at around 585, and we actually poked through this low right here from January 2nd, as well as that low here from December 20th. So that is the price action so far. Long-term perspective, I am a little bit more neutral long-term and a mildly bearish short-term. To me, if we look at what happened before this week, I saw that SPY first was flatlining. We hadn't really moved. If you look at the price in the past 2 months or so, we've been moving sideways. This long red candle has been preserved. We've been making higher lows and just testing this election gap a couple of times. We had a first test here, pretty strong move, and then we got a gap down. Tested this AVWAP from September 6th. That seemed to be holding. Tested, bounced up pretty high over here, but we couldn't quite get to the close above this candle. Came back over here, tested the election gap again, tested that AVWAP again. All right, that's still held, and then we started to bounce. So my game plan coming into the week was like, all right, I want to see maybe I'm cool with a gap up. I want to see like a higher low over here, right? And that kind of had this descending triangle pattern, which all that is saying we have the same lows but lower highs, and that biases us to a breakout to the downside. I use that pattern a lot for day trading on the short side, and I found it to be pretty reliable. I mean, the name isn't really important. It's just more, the name just kind of is a shorthand way of referencing the price action that I'm seeing. So that's what we got. So we got this test, right? We got a test of 600, couldn't quite get into it, and then we started to sell off. We got a gap up, which is what I wanted, a weak move up, and then we started to sell off. This purple line is the AVWAP from the all-time high, so I wanted to see if there was any reaction over here. This blue line is the AVWAP from 9/6, and this other blue line is the AVWAP from August 5th. So I think that August 5th AVWAP could come into play if we get another leg lower. If we compress for a while and then shoot through, I think we have a chance to break. I'm going to go to the M5 chart. Let's just look at the M5 chart for this week. And that's where we're going to start our trades. So came into the week over here. We got a gap up, and this is kind of a weakish move. You can see these mixed overlapping candles, lots of tails. And then we start to just chop around. We had some red and green, red and green, red and green, and then some tiny little bodies hitting 600. We flatlined over here, and then we started to sell. And you can notice the way that we started to sell was some very consecutive red candles, not a ton of overlap into the prior candle. Steady, 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 steady selling, drip through lower. So let's get into the first trade of the week, which was a SPY short. I day traded 50 shares at 597.55. So I got in pretty much right around here, and I kind of missed my entry a little bit. So I came into the day somewhere around here, and I'm like, oh, I actually like this price action that I'm seeing at 600. I think this is a pretty good entry point, but I didn't have my market bearings at the time. I wanted to kind of get into the day, so I didn't end up taking the trade. Then when I got my bearings, SPY was at VWAP, and I was like, all right, look, SPY's at VWAP. I don't want to enter the trade here, right? It'd be better if I entered when it started to fade at the high, but I don't want to enter the trade at VWAP. Either it breaks VWAP or it bounces, gets a lower high, and then I short that, but I don't want to short it right over here. So we got the breakdown. And then we held for a candle or two, and then we started to poke lower here. So this is where I entered at 597.55. And, honestly, I didn't have to chase this little tail, so that's a little bit of improvement, but entered right over here. And then I actually took profits, about like a 30-cent profit right here, because my bias at the time was that, look, we did have this gap up, but, this price action is decent, but there's a chance that we could have a little double bottom here and then rally up to the rest of the day. So I didn't know if that was going to happen, but I don't want to be in the sidelines if it did happen. Or sorry, I did want to be in the sidelines if it did happen. So when I got that breakdown and I saw this little candle over here, I was like, all right, I'm going to go to the sidelines. I'm going to just see what happens here. So I gave it about a 60% chance of a double bottom, and then a 25% chance to test the low of the day, and then a 15% chance of breaking through the low of the day. So we got this little hammer. And I was also looking at this on, oh boy, okay. It's going to be hard to show it on the M1 chart, but yeah, essentially it was a steady grind lower. And then we had this little tail over here. So I saw the tail. I'm like, all right, you know what? Let me take my 30 cents. I'm going to get out of the trade. Take a small little win. I didn't get the best entry, so let me take the small win and get to the sidelines and then see what happens here. So then SPY, flat, 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 flat. And then we actually start to leak lower. So we pull back to the 8 EMA here. Start to leak lower. We got this bearish 1OP cross. I'm like, all right, it's looking pretty good. So that was my first little win of the day. Small win, but it was still a little win. From here to here, 30 cents. And at the same time, when I got this tail, I took NVIDIA long as a day trade. So I liked NVIDIA on that day. I think I took it, what was it? This is on the 6th, right? So there was some, I think there was like CES that the CEO was speaking at. So there was a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of beat over here. Where is January 2nd? And here is the 6th. Okay, so NVIDIA had the gap up, and it had some really nice relative strength. The price action was a little bit mixed, so I think it was an okay pick. But I did like how it was holding this move here. So if you look at the move from 11:40 to 1 o'clock, 11:40, and then here is 1 o'clock. So I entered at 1:05, broke through this compression, fresh buy signal. I liked what I saw. Then you can see market flat, NVIDIA flat. So, oh yeah, I got NVIDIA day trade long. I think how many shares did I take on this? I think I took like 30 shares of this. Yeah, so 30 shares of this. And my stop here was, here's VWAP, so a clean break of VWAP to like 150. So probably if VWAP broke, I probably have to take the loss over here. So that's kind of what I was sized for. Maybe like a $1.50 move down. Wasn't crazy confident, so this was a smaller size. You can see how NVIDIA flatlined over here. SPY flatlined, and then as soon as SPY made a new low of the day right here, I was like, yeah, nope, I need to get out, because usually on these little snapbacks, you see a pretty decent move higher. But the problem was that this move wasn't really overextended. It was pretty straight, right? It didn't have a massive drop and then a snapback that sometimes you see on a light volume kind of news days. If you see that like in August, that didn't happen. So, it held up pretty well. And then right over here, I believe I took the loss at, started to break down over here, move back over here. So I got a pretty favorable fill, actually. The price showed like 151.10, and I actually managed to get out at 151.20. So it took about a 40-cent loss on NVIDIA, which, fine. There's some slight optimizations here. I could have probably got you see it's kind of a little choppy, right? There's some overlap in here. There's some sellers after a big gap up. So I probably could have gotten a better price at like 151.40. And I would have honestly liked to get out at the 140 bar here, right? So I would have liked to get out here, and instead I got out halfway in this candle. So that's sometimes like when you have a really tight leash, you got to be really precise and extremely clear with what you want to see in SPY and the stock. So I was there. It was, I think, an A- kind of trade, or maybe a B+ trade. What could have been better? I think it was a pretty good pick, but I don't love these mixed overlapping candles. I prefer some stronger price action. So that's the first thing. Second thing, I could have got a little bit better entry price by 20 cents, a little bit better exit size by 20 cents. So it's a difference between a scratch and like a small loss. So that was the only kind of optimizations I had on NVIDIA. But when we broke through this low of the day right here, that's actually when I took a SPY swing. I took 15 shares swing at 595.80. So got filled right here, and then you can see SPY started to leak lower for most of the day. So took this swing trade. I liked that we broke through into the gap, and I wanted to see some fall through. I didn't know if we would fill the gap in today or not, but I knew that on a swing basis, SPY was pretty favorable. I'm leading on the 600 level as resistance, and if it breaks through, right, I'll take the loss at like even 604 or something like that. I don't expect this to break above, and if it does break above, take the loss and then wait to see what happens at the all-time high, maybe get another shorting opportunity. So that's what I was thinking on my SPY swings. That was my plan. I was expecting a test of the 100 SMA, but I didn't actually end up riding it all the way through because there was the unemployment report. So I kept a pretty small swing size over here. Now, that was in January 6th. In Jan 7, you can see that SPY, small gap up, broke through a VWAP with the 50 SMA, broke this another AVWAP Q. So had a really nice move down. And I want to talk about this day because I was pretty happy with how I played this day generally. So we got this breakdown over here, right? 590 is looking pretty good. We get a little bounce over here, and then we kind of stall out at the low of the day. We poke through. So this is looking pretty good. Now, on this poke through, what I liked was that you poke through here. And I thought, all right, this might have a pretty decent chance of breaking down. So I actually added to my position here. I took 15 shares at 590. It bounced, and I was leading on VWAP. So VWAP was pretty much my break even here. So if it started to break above VWAP, I would have to take a small loss in that position. It started to roll over, and then it got through, kind of flatlined here, and then it got through the low of the day, right? And then it really started to sell off. And then, funny enough, actually, I had an order out at like 585 or something like that, or 586, but I didn't end up switching the number. So I actually took partial profits here, and then I took the remaining profits on this high volume bullish hammer. So I say overall it was like another like kind of B+ trade overall. I liked my first entry. I think this ad really should have been on a failed bounce. Not at 590, probably closer to 592 or 591.50 or something like that. So on this candle right here, where we're kind of getting through that 8 EMA, that's where I want to take the short. I pretty much get $1.50 more on those shares, and my break even is a little bit higher. So shorting these failed bounces is pretty much the way to go, especially when we made a pretty big drop, bounce over here, bounce over here. Now, the clue that I saw today was that we tested VWAP, hit the low of the day, Second test here, we couldn't get back to this prior high. We still kept this lower low. It was a nice little bounce, and then we got these tiny little candles here that signaled the end of the move, and then bam, 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 3 red candles, and we couldn't get back above this high, this candle, which is a medium-sized candle. It's not even a long candle, so that just kind of shows you there. This absorbs all the buying pressure as we flatline, and then we actually break through over here. The other thing I was watching for was a selling climax for the day. So when we broke this low of the day, I knew that, all right, maybe a selling climax here. I want to start taking some gains. And then when I got this high volume bullish hammer, I took the remaining gains at 588. So it was a nice little win on a SPY swing. And then you can see a flat line later in the day. I could probably, ride it up another, maybe another $1 or so, but took really nice gains. And then was the unemployment report. So where actually my original thesis was right, and I would have been able to take profits at around 580 at the 50 SMA, or sorry, at the 100 SMA. So it's interesting because my plan kind of changed here throughout, but if I were to redo this trade, here's what I would do. First, I think my first entry was fine. I wouldn't have mind adding to this position and taking partial gains here. So adding on the bounce, taking partial gains on this bullish hammer over here. That way I still have half a position before the unemployment report. I don't want to be a full position before the unemployment report. That's another reason I took gains. And then when it came back over here, I take the remaining gains at the 50 SMA, and I see the remaining move. So that's probably how I would have traded. But I like that win. I thought it was a pretty solid win for the week. So you can see that I am taking some SPY trades when I feel my bias is good. And right now, some shares. I may have a futures account, but I don't mind taking some shares, especially for day trading when there's when no commissions. It's really easy to get out. I don't have to follow the futures. I can just follow the ETF and so on. Okay, so next trade I took was HUN. So let's look at HON. I took this trade on the 6th, so I took it pretty much when I took my SPY swing. So let's look at this setup right here on HUN. First of all, it is kind of in this upper right-hand corner, but when I'm trading a bearish reversal pattern, I want to see a couple things. So we get some selling pressure over here. We got another leg higher, right? So we have a lower high, and we break through this level, and I got a really clean break below horizontal support, below the 50 SMA, and below its a VWAP E. So I really like this breakdown on the stock. It's also a pretty fresh break. So that last week, if you look at the SPY D1 chart, you'll see that the market did try to stage a little bounce here from the second, third, and sixth rallied up. And what did this stock do? This stock was flat. Here's a second, here's a third, and then the sixth, right? It actually gapped down while the market gapped up, and then it's tested this level, and then it sold off pretty hard. All right, so here's that gap down, test, break through this low, and then once we got through this low over here, we're looking pretty good. Also should open up, I'm gonna open up Trading You real quick too, because I just want to show you some of the AV WAPs on this guy. All right. I will do that another time. Not as important, but the main thing was we had this breakdown over here. Now, a couple things on HUN. We had a little bit of a gap support over here. We had the 100 SMA over here, as well as, potential little gap fill down over here, or if you use the high, that could be the other gap fill at this level. Yeah, at 216.20, see this low 216.28 also coincide with the SMA over there. So like that move on HUN, really like this setup. So I took a half position in the day, and then I added to a full position later in the day. And I did a full position because I felt pretty confident that we're going to get a move lower. And I really liked the risk and reward that HUN presented for me. We had a nice amount of move to that SMA 100. I had the market tailwind in my favor, and I had a great entry point. So that's when I took a full position on this guy. My stop here was probably somewhere like above, 228-ish. This red candle is the 11.6 AVWAP. You can see the stock was rallying around that level, kind of chopping on that level a little bit. There's some reaction over here. But really, this compression break, this compression high would be that stopping point. And I certainly don't want it to get back above the 50 in this compression low. That's the first warning sign, but I would have to take the loss over here. All right, so got the market right, and I got the stock right. And I took the full gains at around 217.40-ish. So let's look at this M5 chart real quick. Yep. So I took Hun short. Let's see here. I entered at a small bounce at 223. So I think I took, there's this long red candle. I entered this bounce with this green candle at 223. And I was expecting a ride, kind of just to ride the trade to the 100 SMA. And then if it's a really big move, I'll take gains because I know it's a choppy stock. I added some minor support levels that I just talked about. So first day over here. So I took half position, and then when it broke the low of the day, I added to the second part of the position at 22.50. I liked the really nice relative weakness that I saw. So at an average position, full size, at about 222.75. Now, the next day on SPY had a pretty nice bearish trend day. And you can see how Hun, fairly flat for most of the day, and then it finally sold off when SPY broke the low of the day and had a little bit of selling. So on 1.7, I was like, look, I didn't like that it didn't rally down that much, but it made a pretty big yesterday. It's on a little bit of support. But, I'm not panicking about one day. I still think there's a little bit more move left in this market. So, just keeping an eye on that for Hun. And I had some moments of doubts, and that's why just writing it out in a play-by-play is really helpful. Here's literally what the play-by-play looks like. And just kind of what I write out. So this play-by-play is important because I said, all right, here's what happened on 1.7. Here's what SPY did. Here's what Hun did. Here's what I like. Here's what I didn't like. Do I want to change anything? Do I not want to change anything? Rather than getting all in my head, I get it out. I read it out, and I say, all right, do I really need to do something, or do I just have to kind of wait on this and sit? So, but ended up having a little move rest of the day. I was like, all right, we're still moving in my favor. Next day over here, SPY was fairly dead, and Hun was fairly dead, fairly flat, not doing a whole lot. Finally, next day, SPY broke down. Hun flat open, two very long candles, and it finding some support right around here, right above the 100 SMA and right above what's it called? The top of that gap. So I had a floating order out for 216, and you can see I barely missed it. I missed it by 28 cents. So I was like, oh man, so close, right? But I was like, look, it's still holding much of this candle over here. Still a little bearish on the market. So let's see if we can break through this level here on SPY. So we had VWAP over here. We're getting a little bit of a smackdown. And then now it's about 1140. Let's look at this market here. Market's, kind of rallying here, making the low of the day. This stock is chopping. You can see there's a ton of support and volume coming in over here, pretty much right around 217. So I was like, you know what, man? Like, at this point, the risk reward is pretty favorable for a bounce. SPY is pretty favorable for a bounce. Let me take some pretty nice gains on here. So missed my deal target by about like $1 20-ish, but I really should have raised it up just a little bit because the SMA is 216. I'm going to maybe get it right before that SMA. So again, that's like a very minor optimization thing, but I took gains at, I think 217.44, I believe I took gains. So right around here. And then stock had a nice little bounce here. I didn't love this little higher low. on the stock. So pretty happy with that. Again, I captured a big chunk of that move, and I didn't leave much on the table. You can never quite get the low, but Hun was my biggest win this week. That was a 1% increase on the account. So really nice win on that play. All right. So that was Hun. Now, another day trade I took over here was Tap. So here is Tap on the D1. First of all, double top, super strong momentum, breaking down really hard today. Ton of volume. So loved what I saw on Tap. And if I look at the M5 chart for today, first of all, it had a small gap down. I tried to test in the gap, and then it failed really early. So I really like this pattern because it doesn't mean it's too overextended. So it's selling down lower. Market bounces over here, right, for that 30 minutes. You can see how Tap actually moves in lower and then kind of flatlines a little bit over here. We got the super long red candle on a sell signal, right? And this is kind of where I find Tap. I find it right over here. I'm just looking for stocks with a lot of volatility, a lot of volume, really doing their own thing. And I like this pattern because we got this candle, right? Test, 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 test. First bounce, doesn't even get to the halfway point. Second bounce, test the 8 EMA, right? Lower high. And then I'm like, look, if we get a breakthrough this low of the day, I'm getting into the trade. So 12:20, we got to break to the low of the day. And I'm looking at this stock here. Market's breaking through. Market's actually rallying a little bit here. And I was like, look, even if the market breaks to the low of the day, I'm chilling. Even if the market bounces, I feel like we're probably going to stay below VWAP. And even if we do break above VWAP, then I feel like Tap is strong enough, was weak enough for me to scratch out of the trade. So I took Tap over here. If you look at the D1 chart, you can see that Tap has this open of this candle at 52. If you look at this open here, 52.55. And maybe there's some other little minor stuff over here, but that was kind of my target. So if I look at my M5 entry, I entered right here at about 52.96. I wanted the open of this candle to hold, and I felt like this relative high needed to hold. So had about maybe 40 cents to that, and then a clear break of this high would probably be something like 45 to 50 cents. So that was kind of my cushion there, and then my target was about 40 cents. So good little 1-to-1 here. Got over here, steady selling. And then I got a little bit of this tail here. And then I'm like, I don't love this tail. So ended up taking profits at 52.60, which was just right above the low of this tail. And then you can see at that point, the stock pretty much had flatline. There was a little bit more to be gained over here. Looks like it fell about another 40 cents, but hard to get that little extra bit of the move, I think. So we got this. You can see this, and definitely would have sold part of the position here at 52.50. I think I played this pretty well. An A setup. I could have maybe done like a partial scale out over here if I really wanted to. But the other thing that was happening is that the market was rallying, and this is some pretty organized buying here. Remember, steady, medium-sized, steady candles, not a ton of retracement into the previous candle. So told me that, I'm a little bit on borrowed time. Let me take the nice win and get out of the trade. So this was a 120 shares day trade short, which is about half size. I'm using about maybe $50 as a stop here. So full size, maybe something like $100 on the day trade. My swing trading size is, I feel like I should have mentioned this earlier, but my swing trading size, I'm basing it around 1% of my account. So $300 of a max loss is a standard size position. So if I take a half size, it means my max loss is $150. If I have a 2x position, it means my max loss would be like, $600. But usually if I'm doing a 2x position, I have a pretty good chance to scratch out of the trade. So day trades, I might work it up a little bit higher, but day trades, I'm not going to go past the 300 to 150 mark. And while I'm in these certain light volume environments, I might keep it something like $50 or $100 of risk. I think the $50 is pretty nice because I can stack a couple of little $50 wins, maybe throughout the week, and so on. So that was tap. And then last trade that I took was an Adobe. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I also took Adobe short. Well, I'm still short Adobe. Why don't we get to that in a second? I took an Adobe short lotto. I have a love-hate relationship with lottos. I'm still learning to get better with them. I took the lotto right here. I took the 407.50 lottos for 37 cents. Now, my lotto rule is that if $300 is my max risk, I want my lotto to be 1/10 of that. So 30 cents on the lotto. Now, I chased it a little bit. Could have gotten a nice fill, like at honestly like 28 cents, even like, like 26 cents, maybe something like that. But chased a lot of there. And then I actually took a half, like a 50, 60% loss in the lotto. I got out at 17 cents. Yeah, about 17 cents on this little pop-up over here. So took it here, wrote it down over here. The problem was I feel like this didn't have a ton of momentum. Like if I look at STZ is like the prime example that came in today, but like super heavy selling, organized price action. Like this is a really, really, really nice lotto, right? That's kind of the move I want. I saw that Dan took PM, right? Even PM had a lot stronger, steadier price action on that lotto. So that's kind of something I want. So I feel like the Adobe pick wasn't good. I give this whole trade like a C. Just not the best. I feel like I took the lotto timing just a little bit too late. I would have honestly wanted to take this lotto either here, or maybe even here, like on a bounce. Right, take it like a lot earlier, or kind of take it when this move is starting to stall out. So I didn't love my timing on the lotto. I didn't love my pick on the lotto. I just didn't love how I played it. And it's crazy because Adobe actually sold off over here, super wide bid-ask spreads. But it's like I would have gotten anywhere from 300 to like 600% on the lotto if I held it to the end of the day. But I wasn't willing to take the full loss because I chased above my 30-cent increment. So, anyways, all that's aside, took the lotto, took the loss, pretty small loss. It's a $20 loss, so I'm really not even worried about it. But I think it's just more of how I played it is kind of bothering me. I felt like, I don't know. I think I used to take like a whole bunch of lottos, and I just take all these small little losses, and it would piss me off because it would just eat away at the really nice ones that I did. So I'm going to need to study my lottos a little bit more. Still keep it a small size, right? Still a bit of little R&D, but I'm gonna try to get better at these. I'm gonna try to pick better stocks, get really better entries, and see how I can do better. So that was it. I'm gonna talk about the open positions that I have right now. So I have 3 open positions. First one over here is Adobe short, which I'm already in. So took Adobe short right over here at 1.7. I took a half size over here because I felt like the market had already sort of made its move. I like this breakdown in Adobe. Super bearish through all the SMAs as AVWAP E. It's below its 80 MA, but not too overextended. Compression break, and also broke through. There was a pretty decent low right over here, which I should probably mark on this chart. Pretty decent low over here. So broke through that low and, not super overextended. So I like that stock. I entered at about 423, I believe. Let me look at my positions over here. Yeah, okay. So I'm short 6 shares at 425. So I had to stop. I was willing to take heat all the way up to like 450, 452. So $25, 25 times 6, $150. So that was pretty much a half-sized move right here over here. And I'm really judging that based on a really big swing up. Now, Adobe, really nice follow through on this guy. I felt it had room to 400. So I was getting a good 1-to-1 on that trade, at least. And pretty weak. So you can see we got some nice follow through yesterday. It's a good follow through, on Wednesday, and then some good follow through on Friday. Some nice heavy volume. Now, I do think the market's going to bounce. I don't know if Adobe's going to get to 400 there. So a couple scenarios right now in Adobe is that I'm holding it. If it hits 400, I'm going to take the gains. Now if SPY, let's say SPY stalls and then this stock drips through a little bit, hits like 400. I have an order out at 401. So if it hits around 401, I'll take my gains on the stock, and I will call it a day. If the market bounces and Adobe kind of stalls a little bit over here and has a little bounce, I'm cool with that, right? Let the 8 EMA catch up. I want to see a nice little relative weakness, maybe a little bit of a pop-up, some relative weakness, and I want to see the stock. I want to see the market maybe have a bounce. Again, same kind of idea where we get a little weak bounce over here. Maybe, honestly, I'd love to see a weak bounce that like maybe even hit the 50 again and then got rejected pretty hard, right? Like something like over here. I'd love to see a bounce all the way back to the 50 that gets slapped down, and then I can add to Adobe, and maybe I'd probably add, I don't know, probably somewhere like 416 or something like that. I'd probably add, that's what I'm expecting. I'd love to add maybe halfway through, and then I'd take the full position down all the way to 400 and I'd take a nice win. So those are the two scenarios here. And then if we get a tall bounce in a worst case scenario, I'll probably scratch or maybe take a small loss. I don't really need to see like a big leg up over there. That is Adobe. Second one, I am short CAT. This is also a half position on. So I am short CAT 8 shares at 352.50-ish, something like that, right over here, pretty close to VWAP. CAT, you can see triple top or little head and shoulders. I don't really know. I don't really care. What I really care about is this gap up. Here's the election gap, faded really hard. SPY made a new all-time high. CAT faded. That all-time high on the 27th. Another lower high over here. And then we had some really strong selling pressure. As soon as pretty much SPY started to collapse over here, compressed on the 200-day SMA for a while. And then we're getting this next leg lower. So I had an alert set on the low over here. Broke through that low pretty early in the morning. Had some nice steady selling. So I like this as a swing. I think to me it has some room until 335. You can see there's the top. There's kind of the bottom of that little compression over here. Not a ton of little gaps or anything like that. Maybe, you could draw like a low minus trend line here. Yeah, like maybe that's a thing. I'm not super worried about that kind of channel. So you could draw it maybe here. You could get a breakdown of this channel. So if we get a breakdown and a strong move, I could take some gains. I could also just kind of ride this channel a little bit lower and then break down later. That's what I like to see, just kind of a steady little trickle lower. So keep an eye on that. That's like a minor level of support. But again, if the market bounces, same thing with Adobe, right? If the market bounces, I like to see CAT hold the gains, maybe compress for a little bit over here, and then when the market starts to stall and CAT starts to fall lower, showing some relative weakness, then I will add to the position. The other scenario, again, is a quick leg lower. I don't know if we'll get that. This move is pretty fresh, but it really depends what the market does. I think there is a 35% chance we're going to get a bounce sometime next week. I think there's maybe a 60% chance we kind of meander around a little bit for maybe a day or two. And I think there's about maybe a 10 or 15% chance that we crack through immediately and we still see some more follow-through selling. So those are the scenarios. And yeah, I'm cool with it right now. If we get a bounce, I'll add. If we move lower, then I'll still ride to the position. So that is CAT, pretty straightforward. Just really good entry. I'm feeling really confident, and I have my, this is obviously some technical resistance right here at 360. And here's the top of that compression range, about around 371, 370-ish. So that's kind of my stop. If we close and break above that, clean break over here, that's about $23, $24 loss. Yeah, then I'll take the L on the position. Last swing that I have here is Geo. So took a long on Geo, and I have the same, pretty much the same bias. So I think it's more likely that that SPY either flatlines or bounces. I give that a 85-90% chance versus having immediate sell-off down here. Here's Geo, right? Market sells off, stock is flat. Market flat, stock break above D1 support. I don't know if is this an all-time high. Let me check. It's certainly a 52-week high. Good thing I have that level here. Yeah, so here is as you can see, a little bit of resistance over here. We have some resistance just right around 33 bucks. So that is was unknowingly my target on this. We have the all-time high, which I'm going to draw right over here at 30. Oops. Oh my gosh. Let's remove the trend line alerts. So all-time high over here on Geo. It could crack through that, but we don't have a lot of market tailwinds, so I'm not super banking on it. What I want to see and what I'm expecting here is that compression break, super strong stock, doji sandwich. This could make a pretty good move. It has an ATR of 1.5, so I think on any day the market's flat or even has a little bit of buying, I think I get a $2 move in this guy. So have an order out at about 33 bucks. So get a $2 win. Pretty nice win, half size. That's my target on the trade. Now, this top of this compression at 29.50, 29.30-ish, right? That's kind of my stop. So about $1.50-ish, $1.40 to $1.60 room to the downside. We also have some support over here at this AVWAP-E, as well as this low minus trend line. This is this is the 11.6 earnings election gap. AVWAP over here, and the 50 SMA. So I think if this goes down, they're probably all going to coincide around that $27 level. There's also some buying support right here at 27. So ton of support at 27. That would be a much stronger level of support. But since it's a pretty slower kind of stock, like a shorter duration move, that I'm more concerned about this immediate breakthrough holding rather than if it comes all the way back in. I'll probably still hold it and then just take a smaller loss on a bounce or something like that, and see if it can get back through this high. I'm not crazy about it falling through that level over here. So yeah, my positions reflect my bias. I have 2 shorts, half a position. I have 1 long, half a position, and I have my plans for what I want to do on each of them. So good week so far, good start to the year. That's how I want to do it. Not a ton of trades. I believe if I look at my, I'm gonna open. If I took maybe 8 trades this week. So not really overdoing it, not pushing the envelope too much. Yeah, so I took 9 trades this week. 3 of them are open. So really had 6 trades this week, 4 day trades and 2 short-term swings. And I have 3 open short-term swings right now. So I think overall, pretty good week. There's some minor optimizations in terms of where I can add to the trades, what my bias is for some of the trades, getting better at some of the lottos. But overall, I think I played this week pretty well, and account is currently up about 2% right now. So good start to the week. All right, so that is it for the video. For the weekly trade review, hope you found these guys helpful. I told you what I'm looking at next week, how I'm positioned. So we're going to take a look at the trades next week and see if we keep it up, if we do a little better, if we do a little worse. Just taking it week by week and trying to make good decisions every day and being okay with, look, there's some days where I'm not trading and there's some days where I might take a lot of trades. So really throttling my activity, and I'm totally okay with the day, again, where I take nothing, right? It is actually really liberating because it just takes this whole weight off my table that I have to find something today. I can search for stuff, but I don't have to take anything today. I can wait really till the odds are high, and then I can scale up and play pretty strongly. So that's my advice. Please be on the lookout for a year 3 video. I have a rough draft out, I have a script out. Just kind of have to refine it on how I want to convey the messages and what I learned and what I struggled with. I think that'll be pretty helpful, but still in the process of working through that, and hopefully I'm going to try to get it out by the end of this month. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you next week for the next weekly trading review.